Well, at that time, I had been kicked out of Scientology because I had incorporated my mission as a mission of the church and didn't go through the legal department at St. Hill. So I'm working in Ann Arbor at the University of Michigan, helping build, as a civil engineer, a parking structure in the middle of winter in Ann Arbor, Michigan, for the university. That's my job. That's how we eat. And at night, I do little things with Scientology and Dianetics. But meantime, I'm not in the church. I'm declared and expelled. So, one very dark, cold, snowy evening, I get back from my job in Ann Arbor to our little house. It's dark. I'm wearing winter snowpacks like they did in the Korean War, and clothes and all the things with a hard hat and everything on this job. And there's a limousine in front of our house, a big one. And when I get out of the car in the driveway, the limo door opens and a guy wearing a beautiful coat with a Homburg approaches me and says, "Reverend Spickler?" I said, "Yes, that's me." He said, "Reverend Spickler, Mr. Cohen has sent me to see you. May I come in?" He has his letter from Sheldon Cohen with his name and everything. I won't mention his name at this time. But yeah, I invite him in, and my then wife gives him a cup of coffee, and I say, "I'm just going to change my clothes." That's fine. And the kids are there, and the dogs and the cats, and he's sitting with his hat in his hand. I come downstairs, and he's like, "Reverend Spickler, Mr. Cohen, I'm normally stationed in Baltimore, Maryland, has asked me to come to your home and work with you to get everything straight with the Church of Scientology, to get its tax-exempt status back together." Oh, very good. I can't believe this is even happening. And he's very deferential, and it's like Mr. Cohen has made it clear to me, I'm not to leave Detroit, Birmingham, suburb of Detroit, where you live, until you are satisfied that the correct steps will be taken to restore to the church. I said, "Oh, very, very good. Very happy about that." So I gave him my whole shtick about examples of, I had a whole dossier of other tax-exempt organizations that were operating in a way similar to Scientology and taking money for their services, but at the same time doing that which exemplifies tax-exempt status. And I showed him all these different groups, and I said, so under that umbrella, particularly of the Church of Christian Science, whose practitioners work with people and charge for their services, I think it's time Church of Scientology got their exemption. You know, in those days, an hour of auditing was like $22. Not $2,200, $22, or maybe even less. Maybe if you got 50 hours, it was $12 an hour. It wasn't like big fortune. And in those days, too, Ron said, if anybody wants their money back, give it to them at once. No questions asked. That was in the 1950s. And has nothing to do with being declared or expelled or anything. They want, they're not satisfied, try to help them. If they aren't, give them back their money. I remember writing a check for 75-hour intensive that a guy was unhappy with. $1,350. L. Ron Hubbard's order. The guy remained in good standing. I mentioned his name, I won't. Anyway, so here he is, and he says, okay, he said, I think we can do that. Do you think you could contact the church and ask them if to meet us halfway in this? Will they books allow us to see their accounting books? And every year you have to declare your total donations, not for tax purposes, but so we can see how this group is operating. Everything has to be above board and has to fit C-501-3C. That is the code for tax-exempt organizations. I said, I don't think there'll be any trouble. He says, if you do that, we will give your status back and I'll give it to you in writing instantly. Know what has been, just starting right now. If they'll fall in line with other. I said, great. I said, well, you'll give that to me in writing? He said, yes, and I have the letter already prepared. There it is, Reverend Spickler. Now, are you satisfied? He said, Mr. Cohen is adamant that I must not return to the IRS in my office until you say you're completely satisfied, and so inform him. I said, I am completely satisfied. He stopped mopping his brow because his job was on the line, believe it or not. So I had the letter. He went back. A lot of handshaking and Reverend Spickler and your church and blah, 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 blah. And you want to know the end of this? I'll make it quick. I sent all this information, put it on lines at the Washington organization, where it was received by the head of HCO, whose name I'll leave out, and relayed from there to up the ladder to St. Hill, England, and to Ron and Mary Sue and the whole thing. And no came back down the line, but out. It's none of your effing business. LRH. Via Donna Reeve, who was HCO exec in Washington, D.C. So, that's how that OT operation ended. The old man didn't like it and was not willing to do business with this group that he had declared as the absolute permanent enemy forever of the church. So it wasn't until sometime in either the 2000s or the 1990s that using things that I would only have expected of the Gestapo and the SS, they finally got the IRS to grant them tax-exempt status, which is something they absolutely don't deserve to have. I mean, the current church. But that's what happened, and I had a hell of a good time doing it, because having been through a lot of Dianetics and Scientology training and auditing, I had the feeling, which I still have, I could do anything if I really want to. Which is a good feeling. It may be purely delusional, or even worse. But for a long time I felt certain that there wasn't anything I couldn't do. And especially, I found if you have a cause, a lot of people in their lives don't really have something they'd be willing to die for. And I think that's an essential, not necessarily for Scientology or whatever, but you should have some ideal that you really be willing to knock your body off in the effort to achieve it. The existential philosophers know what I'm talking about, but it isn't everybody that wants to live at that level of existence where life and death are like, yeah, they are there, they're always there, and I'm willing to operate in that field where death, life. The thing is, I'm operating, and I know I'm operating, and I'm alive and awake, and I've had that experience, guys, and now, you know, as the body's getting old and I sound and look older, it's no big deal. I have other things that we haven't talked about yet that are also important. And I thank anyone who has listened to this, favorably or unfavorably, and appreciate Terrell Park, and Tatiana, sometimes I miss her name, for giving me a chance to do something that I really appreciate, more than words could convey. I have great love for those people and for many. Thank you.
Thank you.